speaker. A speaker who I like personally and I enjoy listening to so much. Our next presenter, he's a Toastmaster member since 1996. He was the first District 79 governor for the year 2003 and 2004. He is the past international director for Toastmasters International from the year 2007 to the year 2009. Currently, he is the second vice president for Toastmasters International till June 2012. And he is the candidate for the first vice president of Toastmasters International for the upcoming educational year 2012-2013. In his workshop, Leadership as a Life Opportunity, please help me welcome the one and only distinguished Toastmaster, Dtac Muhammad Raj.
Thank you, Master of the Ceremony. Good afternoon. They say that speeches in general after lunch is the most difficult thing, right? So it's up to you to prove this wrong. And I was talking to my friend Morgan MacArthur, whom I call the general, behind General MacArthur, that actually I don't have the most difficult job. The most difficult job is his, because he will be speaking after dinner. So it's double the time that you are at right now. Whenever we talk about leadership, we actually have one question coming up into our mind. And this happens over and over again. Do you know what could this question be? Okay, I know lunch has just finished. But just come up with some questions. And how can you serve? Okay? Okay, it says how can you serve? Yes. Doesn't have anything to do with the leader, okay? Any other opinions from the lady side? Okay. The question is, there is always a question when it comes into our minds whenever we think about leadership. What is the question? Do you understand the question that was the question from the question that you asked? So do you have any input? Ladies, could we have all the lights on, please? Thank you. Ladies?
The type of leadership or the style of leadership?
Style of leadership.
Does the leader have integrity?
Does the leader have integrity? Well, all these are questions that come up after the first question.
What we stand for?
Sorry?
What we stand for?
What we stand for.
Or what are the qualities of a good leader?
Well, all this comes after. And the question is leadership for me? Whenever we talk about leadership, this saboteur in our self comes up, and they come and ask us, am I good enough for leadership? Can I take up leadership and become successful? Will I fail and regret it for the rest of my life? And this is what we will try to answer with these few minutes that we have. I understand that we'll be finishing at 3:30, and it was a 1.5-hour session. I'm glad that you came in late from lunch. And that's why we'll cut it short, that we'll finish hopefully at 3:30 or even before. We'll see how it goes. Okay? But what I want you to do is to be as interactive as possible. Okay? So no Toastmaster manners here. Not stop till the person speaking stops speaking and then you speak. You can interrupt at any time. Okay? So, is leadership for me is the question. And for us to actually understand or answer this question, we need to look at what is leadership. Right? Let's go the scientific way and try to define what is leadership. And for this, what I want you to do is a little exercise. And what I want you to do is think of a definition of leadership to you. Okay, ask yourself the question, what is leadership to me? How can I define it? And you have not more than 10 words for you to define your perspective on leadership. Okay, not more than 10 words about your perspective of leadership. I'll give you 30 seconds. 15 of them to those after lunch and 15 of them to answer the question. What is the definition of leadership to you? Don't say it then. Don't say it yet. Okay, you have a few more seconds to revise what you have defined leadership with in order to refine it and make it better. Okay? So everyone should have your definition of leadership. What I want you to do now is, at the count of 3, each and every one of you, shout out loud, at the loudest voice you have, your definition of leadership. Okay? At the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much. That was very beneficial. Now, let me ask. Could I ask lady there? Could you tell me what does the last lady from the last row definition of leadership is? You did not hear it. Could you tell me what the gentleman in front of you defines leadership with? No cheating. You don't cheat, you don't lie, remember? Yeah, something about motivation. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you go into Amazon and you actually search for a book about leadership, you will find around 17,000 to 20,000 books on leadership. And each and every one of them, whether it's from Stephen Covey, from Max Dupree, Anthony Robbins, Warren Bennett, and there are hundreds and hundreds of people who have written about leadership and they have their own perspective on leadership. If you go on and read these books, go into your area governor leaders, division governor leaders, district governor, and the top 3, they will not be able to convince you about their perspective of leadership. Because leadership is unique to each and every one of you. You understand leadership differently even if you actually phrase it in your own definition the same way. And this is why you should be able to to say, I understand leadership and there is no one else who can come and tell me what is leadership. Yes, you can go and read about it. You can look at the book, look at the perspectives, look at leadership styles of other leaders. But then when you combine all this, you develop a unique set of definitions and perspectives that will make up your leadership. So, this is the governor is not here. Let's ask Morgan. Morgan, what does Abraham think of leadership? No, what does Abraham think of leadership? Okay. What would you do to know? So why don't you go ahead and ask him?
What is it that you think is leadership?
That is, the visionary who can take the group to the top.
Okay, the visionary that takes the group
To the top.
to the target. Okay, that's the definition of Abraham. And right now, you all know what does Abraham think of leadership. Right? So whenever you are a leader and you have a team with you, you need to go to them and tell them what's your perspective of leadership. What do you want to gain out of leadership? How would you act in certain situations of leadership? And ask them the same. Because as we said, this whole mall went up and talked about leadership, but there's so much noise that even the person right beside you doesn't understand what you're saying. So the first lesson in leadership is for you to understand and let other people understand you. Okay? That's the first thing that you will need to do in leadership in order to get started in leadership. Now, we said that there are leaders and there are people who are a team of the leadership, right? And there's always this first stage of a leader getting acquainted with their teams, right? And this first stage is the crucial time where your leadership will be in question and you will need to act upon this first stage in order for you to understand whether you are successful or not. Okay? And let's go ahead and try out this first stage and see how we feel about it. Okay? And for that, what I want you to do is you stand up, you find someone whom you know, go to them and tell them something about you that they don't know. Okay? No family secrets here. And not things that you don't want them to know about, but something that you believe they don't know about. Okay? So at the count of 3, you will have around 30 to 45 seconds to tell the person in front of you something they don't know about you. And vice versa. Okay? At the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. You can stand up if you want. Are we good? The ladies here are having a very good time and talking about it. Right? Are we good? Okay. If you were looking around the hall and noticing, and I'm sure many of you did it because you were engrossed in your buddy here, there were a lot of interactions, different interactions between each and every other partner, and there I saw the ladies actually grouping up to talk about themselves rather than one-to-one. And that is synergy and a lot of secret sharing. Yes, thank you, ladies. So, and here, I have to hear this one. There was so much of laughter here that everyone needs to know. Okay, what was going on here?
Actually, I was also surprised when he said that he's married to more than one woman.
Okay. So
I thought he's just married to one.
okay. So what did you find out in this small exercise? What did you find out? Making relationships. Absolutely, you coined it. However close you are with your team members, there is always something else that you can find out. And once you actually find out that one, you will get closer to that person. Okay, there is no way that you will stay the distance you are after you find out about that person what you found out. Now, Dr. Delson might be further away because he knew that Marwan is married to 2 wives, so he doesn't like it. 5? Oh my God. Where is the Saudi government problem? Okay, so did you like that exercise? Yeah? I have one more for you. Now this time I want you to do the same thing, but I want you to actually get out of your seats because there were people who were lazy enough and had more food than they should have that couldn't get up. So let's digest that food. And what I want you to do is get up. Look for someone whom you do not know. Okay? Look for someone whom you did not meet, you did not shake hands with at all in your entire life, and go and tell them something about you that would be more than the thing that you told your friend that you knew in the last exercise. Okay? Something more personal. No, not here, okay? Not this one. But tell them something which was more personal to you than the thing that you told your previous buddy. Okay, at that count of 3, 45 seconds, 1, 2, 3, go.
I know you. Stand up, boom. I know you. Let me come to you.
up for this time. Stay standing.
Don't stand up.
Okay? Stay standing. Just look for me.
Sitting down, so don't sit down.
Look for me. Excuse me, the photographer. Excuse me. I am the celebrity, not him. His time will come later. Are we good? Okay, now you went ahead and actually talked to someone who didn't, and yet you told them something about you that you wouldn't normally tell someone who is a stranger. Right? How did that feel? Now, correct, I have so much of now. Sorry? Strange. Okay, any other feelings? Yes? Closer. Sorry? People are same and connected, right? It's awkward. You both are? Okay. Okay. Well, you're talking about close friends. Well, more often than not, and the people who said it was awkward, yes, it does feel awkward. None of you would have actually been as comfortable as the first time. Okay? The fact of the matter is, if you look at this, you will find out that you become more friendly with this person. Right? Right. Okay. I have one more for you. Standing. You have to stand. Now, what I want you to do, listen up now. What I want you to do, and you need to follow through with this exercise, okay? If you do not follow through, you do not complete this workshop, and you will not get the certification that will come to you 24 years from now. Okay, what I want you to do, look for someone whom you do not like. Okay, let me finish. Oh, I am hired this time now. Let me finish. Oh yes, wives are not allowed. That's a very good one. Let me finish here now. Go to someone whom you do not like. Okay? If it is not to the extreme that you do not like, someone whom you would least like to meet within this whole audience. Okay? Someone who would you least like to meet in this audience, go, shake hands with them, and tell them something about you that they do not know. 1, 2, 3, go. to work with them. The only obstacle is here. And the only obstacle is to stand up from where you are sitting, go to them, and tell them, I have to work with you, and we need to talk. And once you do that, you will be much, much more comfortable in dealing with them, talking to them, understanding them, letting them understand you, and be able to be as efficient as possible. I have a hand there, yes ma'am.
That's a beautiful concept.
Uh-huh.
But what if we and you say these things, they don't even want to talk to you. You get no response, or you get a very negative and violent response.
What I would do, I wonder who that was when you had that experience. But yes, that happens. And there are, and I thank you for asking this question, because what you need to do is to be able to exhaust all the possible ways that you will be able to do in order to work with a person like that. Now, if this persists, and it actually might affect the other people who are with you, you call quits. And you say, that's not happening, but then you have your team with you that should come to a consensus of what we need to do with this person. Right? Now, there are more than the majority within the team that have this feeling, then they become the majority. And probably you need to look at yourself with the people who have this feeling towards them to see how this can be solved. Right? So there is a line that should be drawn. You can't stay forever trying to please someone and they say, no, we don't want it. Well, if it's no, then you need to make sure that you go on in making sure that your team continues to be efficient. Okay? So that's how we actually look at teams. Okay? Now what I want you to do is, well, let me talk about what happened after this exercise. You were actually standing and I said, sit down. Right? Where did you go and sit? Back to where you were sitting. Right? So what I want you to do now is stand up and go and sit somewhere where you are not sitting, and do not sit next to the people whom you were sitting with before. 1, 2, 3, go.
Somebody?
Okay. Settle down. I actually was doing this session in Dubai with a group of people. And one man actually stood up and went and sat in the middle of the ladies. So, I went up and asked him, I said, why did you do that? And he gave me a very peculiar and interesting answer. He said, I went and sat where the men were allocated, and I thought I wanted to go the extra mile and try something new. Okay? And that triggered something which was very interesting to me, because what happens in leadership is that you get comfortable where you are sitting, with whom you are sitting on your side. Okay? And then you go into status quo. Everything is the same, you interact same, because you don't want to go into the trouble of actually going into new experiences, going into new relationships, as the table topic subject was. But then, for you to become a more efficient leader, you will need to change places. You will need to go into uncomfortable places and see how it feels. How did it feel when you stood up and went to another place? Very? Not very happy. Why are you smiling right now? And why are you looking to the lady beside you and you're talking? Because you got more comfortable.
More spicy.
There is a research that was done, and basically it takes 21 days for you to change a habit. Okay? So 21 days for you to change a habit. Now, many people actually do not follow through these 21 days in order for them to change their habits. But then, it's basically important for you to understand the habits in order for you to change it. Many of us don't understand ourselves, don't understand what are our habits in order for us to get out. So it takes situations, just like I did. You are not aware that you are going back to the same place and sitting because you're comfortable. So it might take an external factor for you to become uncomfortable, and most often that happens because it will not be in your hands. Circumstances will change around you, and you will need to adapt. The other easier way is for you to be aware internally of what is happening and schedule yourself to change your environment, train yourself to change whatever is around you in order for you to experience the new situation. And this is where you will train yourself. When things happen in the future, you will be able to cope with them in a better way. Right? So that is how leaders actually deal with situations. Another trait of leadership, and this is what I had found out probably later in my life. I was a police officer, by the way. I worked for Dubai Police for 20 years. And within these 20 years, and I was a school dropout basically. So I went to Al-Ain University in the UAE for a year. I saw a chance of going to the States and flirting around there. You know how it is, right? But I'm mature now. I don't flirt around now. I'm married and I have 2 daughters, in case you didn't know. But what had happened is that I just didn't want to study. Went out, the opportunity for going to the States and studying did not materialize. I saw an opening where there was a cadet officer training happening within the Dubai Police Academy. Enrolled in Dubai Police. Went through that training, finished training, and was assigned to criminal investigation department. Okay? So I was a vice prop that time. And during the 8 years of being into criminal investigation, I had done nothing but work. There were some times that I was out on the street for 3 to 4 days in a row, just looking at a homicide case or a drug case and so on, surveillance and so on. So I was thinking of nothing except for work. And then a wonderful thing happened. There was a friend of mine who was called William Sampson. And William Sampson invited me to a very strange sort of gathering which was called Toastmasters. And he said, why don't you come to Toastmasters? I I said, I am a police officer, I cannot go where there is alcohol. And he said, it's not that kind of toast, it's a forum for public speaking. At that time, there was no leadership involved, it was only public speaking. So I went there were a bunch of crazy people clapping whenever someone stood up. And, everyone was so positive and there was nothing wrong with everyone. So, the meeting happened. I finished and went out of the door. And I looked back and I said, what on earth happened? And the fact of the matter, nothing. I left the meeting 3 months after the meeting, not even a thought about what happened in that meeting. 3 months later, I see William Sam, and he said, why don't you come to the Toastmasters meeting? I said, what's different? He said, they are nicer girls here. I said, I am married. He said, why don't you come anyway? So I agreed, and I went to the second Toastmaster meeting. And within that second Toastmaster meeting, what happened is that they called me to do a table topic as a guest. End of the meeting, on the lectern, small cup, said, best table topic speaker of the day. And they called Muhammad Urad to come up and receive this cup. And guess what happened at the end of the session? Vice President membership came up and gave me the phone. And guess what happened then? Muhammad Murad was foolish enough to sign the membership form. And I enrolled to find out later that the table topic best speaker was always rigged. They actually gave the best table topic speaker to the guests. That's an idea for you, by the way. Second Vice President promoting rigging in contest. Oh my God. But then, if you think of it, I thank each and every one in that meeting, including William Sampson, for inviting me, for actually doing that. Why? Because from the time that I joined Toastmasters, I got hooked. And thing after thing after thing happened until I am here today with you, speaking to you about leadership. And this whole story came up because I wanted to tell you that 8 years within the service of police, I did nothing but work. But then after this second meeting, there are so many lights that came up into my head about what life is all about and how leadership could change the lives of so many people, including yourself. Because that is the time that I understood that life is not about work only. Life is about gaining knowledge. And knowledge that will take you places and take others places that they have never been before. So I went and looked for a university and I took up computer science. Finished 2 master's degrees while I was working in the police. Got promoted 3 times in a row. Got the courage to ask for voluntary retirement whenever I had nothing to live on. Started my own business, became successful, and took up leadership roles in Toastmasters that would help my family, my business, and my friends. That was the power of knowledge. And that was the power of being able to understand leadership and be able to experience it rather than just read it, being able to go through a rigorous, tough, challenging life for it to become better. Knowledge is something that you cannot let go at any instant of your life. Whenever you are doing something, you are gaining knowledge. Whether you are out there having lunch, whether you are here listening to me, whether you reflect upon the experience you had in Dtac 12 in Jeddah, you are learning things. It's up to you to maximize it. And this is where the whole title of the session comes. Because leadership is a life of opportunities. And opportunities will knock on your door each and every experience that you go through. It depends what you do, how you take advantage of it to your benefit in order to get yourself as successful or status quo or fail. And there is nothing wrong with failing, by the way. It's okay. As long as you know that you have failed and you get up and go forward. Life is about opportunities, and each and every instance will give you something to learn from. I was in the police and I was in the criminal investigation department, and there was a call from the operations group saying that there's a man lying on the street and you need to go and check it out. He is unconscious and we don't know what's wrong. So I got up onto the car, went to the street where the man was. There's a big gathering around this man, scattered the audience and the crowd, and looked at this man and tapped him on the shoulder. And I said, sir, I'm from the police. Are you okay? And after a little bit of trying to wake him up, he opened up his eyes a little bit. And he said, nothing. Didn't say anything, he just opened up his eyes. So I said, I'm from the police. What's wrong with you? So he opened up his eyes again. And he asked me a question. He said, where am I? And I looked up, and there was a big McDonald's sign on the shop. And I looked at the sign, and I looked at the man, and I said, sir, you are in front of McDonald's. And he opened up his eyes even more. And he said, you must be a senior police officer. So I got filled up with pride and arrogance, and I said, yes, I am a senior police officer. But how did you know? So he said, you police officers are always accurate, but useless. Now there are two things that I could have done at that time for this man. I could have played football with his head, with my feet. And this is what I used to do when I was in the criminal investigation department. I was a cool guy. Don't let that smile fool you right now. Or listen to him and understand that he was actually not asking where he was. He was actually telling me, I need help. I am confused. And I need to be embraced. I need to feel secure. I need to feel safe. Now, this is the difference between a Toastmaster and a non-Toastmaster. Because if I had gone through this situation without being a Toastmaster, this guy would have been in trouble. And believe me, those days there were no so many things about human rights and, not doing the wrong thing. I could have actually put him in jail. But Toastmasters makes a difference of what opportunities come to you, how to recognize them, and how to be able to manipulate them in order for you to become a better leader. You see, knowledge is not in books only. It's not in learning about experiences that you go through in work. Knowledge is about looking, scouting around. After I was in the criminal investigation department, I got transferred to the ambulance department, the emergency medical services department, which took care of the whole emergency medical services for the emergency of Dubai. So I was a bad cop, then I became a good cop. And that made a big difference. But then when I was in the ambulance department, I was going home one day, and while I was going home, there was a small accident where a man was hurt, so I just stopped, attended to the man until the ambulance came, and I handed him over to the ambulance and went home. At that time, my daughter, younger daughter, was 9 years old. And she was sitting on the computer. She looked at me. I was in, prepped up uniform, police uniform, and so on. And she noticed a small smear of blood on my trousers. So she looked at it and she said, "Daddy, what is that?" So I looked at it. I said, "This is a blood spot which came up to me from the person who was injured." And I waited till the ambulance came and I handed him over. And then she asked me, she said, "Daddy, do you know how to attend to injured people?" And then, 9-year-old, director of the ambulance department, she's telling me, do I do my job? So I looked at her and I said, "Of course I know how to attend to an injured person. I'm the director of the ambulance department. How could I not know?" Then she followed up with another question. She said, "Daddy, does the manager of a restaurant have to know all the recipes which are cooked in the kitchen?" And then the director of the ambulance department became a 3-year-old in front of my 9-year-old. And this is where I learned that knowledge is not from people who are experienced in fields and management and so on. Knowledge is available in the small instances of life. Knowledge is there for you to grab. Knowledge is there for you to take opportunity of. And you have the whole life in front of you. That will create this big opportunity. Right? It's a big opportunity which will come in and will be made of small ones. And the beauty of it is that it is incremental. So if you actually hunt for the smallest sort of opportunity that you can work on and actually accomplish something on that, the next one will be much bigger, definitely bigger. And you build on it until there is something that will come to you that will be really big. For me, it was Toastmasters. For many of you, it is Toastmasters. But there are some times that a Toastmaster will come and say, "Toastmasters is not for you. I need to look for something that will create this big opportunity for you." And that's the most important, the strongest statement that any human being can do, can have. Because they recognize what will do it for them. Whether it's Toastmasters or something else, it depends on the person's are millions who have benefited, but there are thousands who have come and left without even understanding what this Toastmasters is about. Life is about opportunity. I'd like to end with this story, and how many people here have seen the movie In Pursuit of Happiness by Will Smith? Okay, a lot of you. Those who haven't, I suggest that you go and watch it, but let me tell you, and spoil the movie for those who didn't actually see it, because I'm going to talk about it. There is this small instance in the movie that I think is the epitome of taking opportunities. And here there is, this whole movie is about Chris Gardner, who was a nobody. He was a medical equipment salesperson. His wife left him, and his little 6-year-old son was with him. And he has literally zero money. Okay? And he has nothing. He is desperate, and he's just not happening. It's not happening. And as he was walking around with on the tree, there is a beautiful red Ferrari that drove up on the street he was walking on the curb, parked right in front of him. A suited, booted, immaculate man came out of the Ferrari. And he goes, "How did you do that?" And the man says, "How did I do what?" He says, "The Ferrari." So the man looks at the building right in front of him, which was, I don't know how many stories building. And he said, "I know this company." And that's it. Split-second decision by Chris Gardner, Will Smith, who was actually acting for Chris Gardner. Split-second decision by him changed his whole life. Because what happened after this, that he researched the company, he understood that there is a course that is given by the company. They hire people who need to work with them free of charge for 6 months. And only one person out of 60 who are eliminated out of, I don't know, 500 will be offered a job in the company. Researched it, enrolled in it, worked for 6 months, struggled like hell into just making it work. And at the end, he was offered the job. But that was not the end, because the job was the beginning of him starting his own multi-million business, selling part of it, and be able to live successfully for the rest of his life and his son's life, for that matter. And all it took is a split-second decision. One small question out of the oblivion that changed the life of Chris Gardner. How many opportunities have you had that you didn't ask the question? How many opportunities will you have that you will need to be aware of in order to ask the right question? That is what leadership is all about. And to end with, I need to answer the question that we started with. What was the question? Is leadership for me? And that is the question that we need to ask ourselves. But unfortunately, I will not be able to answer it. Why?